What up, guys? Today we're going to be walking you through how we do the 40 chops on these trucks. We sell them as a DIY kit. These are not an entry-level DIY project. This is something that you're going to want to have some kind of fabrication experience, access to a welder or someone with a welder who's decent at least. It's a pretty in-depth process, so I'm going to try to do the best I can to explain to you how I go through these and what works for me. All right, so as you can see, got the fender off of here, wheel and tire off. That's gonna be huge. You're gonna need as much room as you can in here. So we're gonna be cutting out this whole section right here. And this is what needs to go away to clearance 39s or 40s. This is multiple layers through here. It's not the easiest thing to cut, but I'll show you the process of how I cut them to get all the little pieces out. It's kind of a lengthy process, but you'll figure it out. It's not too bad. All right, we're gonna start on the passenger side. We're gonna start with getting all the trim out of the way. This thing is just a couple clips. It'll pop right out. And there's two 7mm bolts holding in the BCM behind this thing. You don't wanna pull all this out of your way. Get the carpet folded back here as far as you can. I'll show you what that looks like when I get it all apart. All right, so you can see everything here is off the wall. We're all clear up front. It's just a couple little body plugs here, and then two 7mm and a little hook on the front of this guy. That'll slip right out. And then we're gonna go ahead and pull all this carpet back. We're gonna end up trimming this corner out of the carpet where the firewall chop is gonna come through. But then we're pretty much good on the interior on this side. This up here, I usually like to start from this point here, cut straight across and just cut down. I use a razor blade. It takes a little bit of time. They don't cut very easy, but that's the best way that I've found to do it. You see this corner's cut out here. I just like to take this extra corner and make sure that it's shoved up out of our way here. Just don't want to get anything with sparks if we can avoid it. But now we got a clean shot at cutting through that firewall without cutting into carpet, starting any fires. Back and like get a zip tie or something on it to hold it out like this. And then I stuff a welding blanket in here. Here's a clear shot at what it looks like under the dash here in the passenger footwell when you have everything prepped and ready to start cutting. The last thing is just to shove a welding blanket or something over this. Definitely make sure it's fire retardant. You don't want that thing smoldering in here on the carpet, the insulation, or the BCM here. Just cleaning all the road grime off this thing here so I can get a clear mark of where I want to cut it. I'll show you guys up close of my cut line here. I don't have a template or anything for it, but it's not too hard to get it accurate. All right. So pretty much the goal here is to get this cut line for the outside of the firewall here, either flush or just inboard of where this line is. So that is up to some interpretation. You can always cut more, you can't cut less. That is a good rule of thumb on this project. We're gonna bring this up to about here. Let's see what that measurement is. So you guys, something to base this off of. Go about 1.5 inches below this plastic core support bracket here. And we're gonna go straight across under that. Marker's not laying anything down. We're gonna go straight across right through this seam into this side. And then I use this little stamp in the factory firewall here. I cut just inside of that stamp, straight down the best you can. And then we're gonna cut the bottom off here. Since this is a pretty intricate cut and there's a lot going on here, not everyone's gonna cut it the same. You know, stuff happens, accidents happen. There's gonna be a little extra material left on the panels, a little bit of overhang here. So don't stress too much about having these cuts super precise. Once you get the material out of your way, you'll be able to put the panel up there and kind of see how it fits. And more than likely, you're gonna have to sand some material off of it but it's a lot better to do it that way than end up with a big gap or a hole somewhere in the firewall. Just for reference, this line is roughly 1 inch behind where this factory firewall is. That is going to give you most of the clearance, or that will give you all the clearance that you need for 39s, 40s. Now we got everything covered up inside, got all the electrical and the carpet covered with a welding blanket. Time to go ahead and start cutting on this thing. With the second layer behind this here, I'm going to scalp this off just on the outside of this seam. That's, most people will have the 37 mod on already, but you scalp this off and get this outer layer off first so you can get to working on what's on the inside. I'm just going to pop a couple of holes up here so I can use the body saw and connect these cuts, get this inner piece out of my way here. Okay, get this thing out of your way. You'll notice when you start cutting, there's a lot of glue and foam and stuff holding all these pieces together. It's going to be stinky when you cut it. It's probably best to have another person helping with a fire watch, even if they're just around. Take a break every once in a while if you don't have a fire watch and take a peek inside. So this part is where it starts to get a little tricky. We have this outside line cut down the firewall here. We're gonna wanna try to plane that cut out for the inside layer as well. So this one is gonna put you through to the cab here on the inside. So this is where you really need to start being careful and try to make this cut the same as this one here. If you guys follow this thing here, this stamp, this will make your cut crooked. So I would go level to the ground, not follow the plane of this, and that'll help you get a straight cut here. It's easy to follow that, so be careful. That will misshape your cut out here. Another little tricky cut here is going to be this section. You don't want to cut too much of this inner layer out because that is what you're going to see inside. It will be covered up with carpet, but it's better not to have a huge gap. So as you can see, I have a cut along the bottom here, and then I'm going to cut the top here to my point that I want. And then I'm going to scalp this piece off and can get a clean cut here for the panel. All right, moving on to the driver's side here. Everything that you're gonna have to take off here, there's 2 8mm for the hood release. And then if you pull this plug off with a panel popper, there's 2, I believe, 7mm bolts, maybe 8mm under that. And then there's 3 10mm for the parking brake. There's 1 in the front, 1 on the top, and 1 down here. Get all that stuff off the wall. Same thing, get the carpet back, everything. Okay, so there's one I forgot to mention. Let's see if I can get it to focus here. On the top of the parking brake, there is this sensor, it's just a 7mm. Make sure you take that off before you pull the parking brake assembly out. All right, here we are under here, everything off the firewall. Got this zip tied back over here, just up out of the way. Didn't have to disconnect anything here other than the one sensor that goes to the parking brake. Now we're gonna do the same cut that we did on the passenger side. I'm gonna go over and down, just clear this corner out of the way, and then we're good to start cutting. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing on this side. We're gonna go about an inch back from factory here, and we're gonna go straight across about an inch and a half under this plastic core support bracket. And same thing with the stamp on this side. Stay just inboard of it, straight up and down, not following the plane of this. Quick disclaimer, on the inside layer here where it meets the inside of the cab, there's the front mount for the parking brake. Try not to cut the parking brake mount off. If you do, you're gonna have to modify the parking brake assembly. It's gonna be the last one in the front up here, this guy. Now we got this outside cut and the inner layer peeled out here. Now you can see that this is the front mount for the parking brake that you do not want to cut into. Try to stay, I don't know, a half inch in front of this here so you don't have to end up cutting your parking brake bracket. Now we got the holes cut in here. The initial hole should be slightly undersized. You'll probably keep following this plane and just open it up a little more. But now it's time to start fitting the panel. So your goal is gonna be to get the bottom of the panel to start fitting down here. Obviously I'm not there yet, but once this fits, you can trace the top here and see what extra material needs to be cut off. This is extra in case you cut too far back over here or too far in the middle here. But yeah, that should be the majority of the trimming on the panel will be just the top here. Again, this isn't a very easy DIY project. This is pretty in-depth and you will be very involved in it. Getting to this point is kind of what we need to show you. So from here on out, it's gonna be kind of up to you to start fitting this thing and make it as acceptable as you want it to fit. You've got most of this. This is where I would start tacking it in now. Did some trimming on the top here, and you can see, get the bottom there happy. If there's a little bit of overhang around these sides or on the bottom, I like to start tacking it in where it's happy first, and then you can knock those down a little bit as you go. This up here is very hard to weld. There's a lot of glue and foam and stuff in here, so get what you can and just use whatever sealer of your choice to finish it off. I do it from inside and outside. So this is it. We're all tacked up now. A little bit of sanding left up here, but that's about it. The last thing to warn you guys about is not to burn your truck down. Have a fire watch handy. All this stuff is gonna be glowing hot right inside your cab, so be careful with that. And other than that, depending on your tire size, make sure you cycle it through this process. You know, if you're clearing 39s, this is plenty. If you're clearing 40s, you might have to go in a little more, but there's extra material on these, so you'll be fine. You'll have enough. Go ahead.